Hello, hello, hello. It's Caroline Chapman, and welcome to this YouTube live session. Really happy that you're here with me today. Now, I'm first today going to talk about can you interpret your own dreams? Then I'm going to tell you about somebody whose dream could only be interpreted by him as a really good example of why it's often best if you interpret your own dreams. And then finally, I'm going to answer questions. And these might be questions in the chat, and the chat's, whoops, that in my eye. The chat's probably going to be over there for you. And also, I received a couple of questions from emails. So now, if you have questions, like I said, just put them in the chat. And I just wanted to explain to you, you're probably going to see me looking over to the side every once in a while. And I'm doing that because I'm looking to see if there are questions. And also I'm checking on my outline to make sure that I remember to talk about everything I mean to talk about. So, all right. So, the question is, can you interpret your own dreams? Well, not only can you interpret your own dreams, but often you are the best person to interpret your own dreams. And that's because your dreams are about you. They're about your life, your job, your relationships, your fears, your hopes. Your dreams are your dreams. And even though symbols of dreams may have a universal meaning for many people, for example, I have some videos about bridge dreams, and one of the most common meaning for a bridge dream is that it represents a decision you made the day before. Well, even though that symbol may be universal for many people, it still has a specific meaning for you because it's your decision that you made the day before or the week before, or something you've been thinking about. So that's an example of why you are often the best person to interpret your own dreams. Now, like I said, to begin today, I'm going to be talking about um, someone whose dream could only be interpreted by him. So, this is a very good example of why you are often the best person to interpret your own dreams. And this is the dream that made Google. Do you know that Google came from a dream? Well, it's a story about Larry Page, and Larry Page is the co-founder of Google. And he was a co-founder with Sergey Brin. But originally, it was Larry Page who was working on his PhD at Stanford. And he had this problem. And the problem was, I know that Larry Page wanted to put all the knowledge and information in the whole world on the internet so that everybody could have that information accessible to them. And I'm just going to check my emails now to make sure that that I'm answering that, whether there's a new question that's come up there. All righty, so getting back now. Here we are. So Larry Page was at Stanford, and um, I have lost uh, my screen. I don't know where it went. I think this is it. Okay, I'm back. Here I am. All right. Now, Larry Page, like I said, his dream was to download all the wisdom and knowledge on earth and put it in the internet. And that was even before it was Google. This was just a dream that he had. Now, I've just been out walking, so I'm feeling kind of warm. Um, and the problem was, how were you going to rank the websites on the internet? Because all kinds of websites were springing up. And some people thought that the way to rank the websites on the internet was by which ones were the most popular. But Larry Page felt that that wasn't going to work, that wasn't deep enough as far as ranking. And basically, he was looking for search engine optimization. How were you going to know which website is going to give you the answer to a question you've asked? And he decided that the best way to rank websites was by backlinks. Now, for those of you who don't have a website or a YouTube channel, I'll just give you a little bit of an example about backlinks because I'm not totally conversant in them. But I do know that when I make a post on my website, which is carolchapmanlive.com, that I have something on there called Yoast SEO, search engine optimization, and it tells me when the post that I'm making on my website is optimized well for search engines. And one of the important things is that it has a link internally and also that it has a link going out to other places and that there are links coming in. So when I post a YouTube video on my website, it's giving me a backlink from YouTube. So that's the best way. And you know what? If I've got it totally wrong, those of you who understand these things better than I do, just straighten me out in the chat. And I would really appreciate it. So going on with Larry Page. Now, once you come on, please just say hello and tell me where you're at, where you're coming from, because I love to say hi to you when you come on the chat. So how was Larry Page going to optimize his search engine? How was he going to optimize these websites on the internet? And he couldn't figure out how to do it. He had the feeling about backlinks, but he didn't know what to do. And it was very much on his mind because Larry Page's life is about what's interesting to Larry Page. And so one night he woke up in the middle of the night at 1 o'clock and he'd had a dream explaining the mathematics of how to create these backlinks, how to be aware of these backlinks. In other words, he had a dream about basically the first Google algorithm. Okay, so that's why I say he's probably the only person on earth that could have interpreted that dream because Google didn't even exist yet. He was only in the stage when he was figuring out how to make it and how to make it effective. And also, most people wouldn't have understood the math that his dream was about. So he ended up waking up. Oh, hey there. Hi. Hi, Rocky from Florida. I'm so happy to see you. So nice that you said hi. All right. Yeah, when you come on, please say hello and let me know where you're from. So I'm talking about the dream that made Google. And I'm explaining this dream because it shows how you're likely the best person to interpret your own dreams because your dreams are about your own life. And Larry Page had this dream all about mathematics. And so he woke up, and his first thought was, oh my God, if I can't find a pen and paper, I'm going to lose this. Because you know, how soon as you wake up, your dreams just fly away. You seldom remember a single thing. And the reason is because dreams come out of the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is supreme when you're sleeping. But as soon as you wake up, your conscious mind becomes supreme, and the subconscious mind becomes sub or under the conscious mind. And that's why the subconscious mind is still working. It's just that your impressions, what you see, what you feel, what you smell, all your sensations come roaring in and take precedence over what's coming from the subconscious mind. So anyway, Larry Page was fortunate enough that he could grab a pen and paper, and he evidently was up for a number of hours working out the math that he dreamt about. And it was then that dream that made it possible for him to rank websites the way Google does. So when you open Google and you ask a question and you see these listings of answers to whatever you've asked, it's these algorithms that are the Google algorithm that is choosing what's going to be ranked first and all the way down to, in some cases, there's billions of replies for that question. So now just to tell you a little bit more about Larry Page, because I love his story, um, there's something about him that I really like. His co-founder of Google is Sergey Brin. And he was doing this, Larry Page was doing this PhD thesis at Stanford. And when he first came to Stanford, he had a guide. You know how when you're going to prospective universities, you sort of get a tour of the university. And the guy who was giving him the tour was this young man named Sergey Brin. And the thing is, whatever Sergey said, Larry Page would disagree with him. And then Sergey would get into a discussion with him. And actually, Larry Page really liked this about Sergey. He liked this sort of creative process between the both of them. And then when it was time to go further with the work that Larry Page was doing, he wanted Sergey Brin to work with him. And evidently, I don't know what it's like now. I mean, they went from Google to Alphabet, and I think they're sort of stepped back from Alphabet now. But I believe in the beginning they both had their desks in the same room so they could throw ideas back and forth with each other. And I bet you many of them were disagreements. And it reminds me kind of Orville and Wilbur Wright, the guys who flew the first plane. Um, and they evidently had such large, loud disagreements that the people in their family would be telling them to just stop it because they had such large arguments. So I really wonder if this process of bantering ideas back and forth and feeling strongly about those ideas is part of the creative process. Now, let me just check my notes here because I want to know. Oh, here's just some, this is neither here nor there. Do you know that Google was originally called Back Rub? Back Rub. And that's because it was based on back links. All right. So now we're going to go on to how to interpret your own dreams. And this is going to be in 4 parts. Number 1, how to remember your dreams. 2, how to record your dreams. 3, the actual interpretation process. And 4, understanding your way of dreaming. So, number 1, how to remember your dreams. And I said at the beginning of this live stream that at the end I was going to answer questions. Well, and I'm going to answer one question. I have 2 questions. And one question I'm answering right now, this is from Crystal in Belgium. And she says, I wonder, how can we remember our dreams? Most of the time when I wake up, the dream is gone. The previous night was a night filled with dreams. But you see, just like I said earlier, as soon as you wake up, your dreams, which are part of the subconscious mind, are gone, because the mind that is working is your conscious mind. It's not that the dreams are gone, it's the memory and awareness of them is gone. So, number 1, to remember your dreams, the most important thing is you have to have enough sleep, because studies have shown that throughout the night, that we don't dream all night long. We dream at various times through the night, and the dreams become longer and longer as the night goes by. And usually the dreams we have just before we wake up are the ones that are most significant and longest, up to an hour and a half in length. So if you only sleep like 4 hours, you're not even going to get to these dreams that are longer and deeper and full of information for you. So that's number 1, get enough sleep. Number 2, this is very helpful, and it is to have the intent before you go to bed to remember your dreams, to say to your subconscious mind, I want to remember my dreams. Now, you don't do this with pressure like, I need to remember my dreams. No, think of it in terms of, won't I be happy and grateful if I can remember my dreams? Because the subconscious mind, unlike the conscious mind can take pressure. The subconscious mind just floats away, it runs away. The subconscious mind is a softer, sort of easier going type of thinking, just as our dreams are not so focused. They're not so focused. So, the other thing that will help you to remember your dreams is to have a pen and paper or notebook beside you before you go to sleep. So you put the pen and paper beside you on your bedside table or somehow nearby. And so you're showing yourself your intent to remember your dreams. And let me show you, this is my dream journal. Okay, because people think that if you have a dream journal, it's got to be something fancy. But heck, I've been remembering my dreams and writing them down and interpreting them since I was 17. It's just like this kind of book I get when I go to the grocery store. Okay, now some people like to have a smaller book, like this little booklet here. They'd rather have something like that. And other people, if you go to Barnes and Noble, there's a whole wall of journals there. I mean, a whole big wall. And here's this kind of fancy, more expensive kind of journal that you can get. Um, you know, I actually had this for years and I've never used it. And I think it's because, oh, hi, Rocky. I can see you keep a dream journal as well. And it's about half full now. That's great. Okay. So this one's actually heavy and it's awkward. It's hard to turn those pages because these big sparrows. So here I bought myself this beautiful fancy book and I never use it. And it's just easier for me to use this one. So to help you remember your dreams, when you wake up, see if you can just lay there for a little while and don't move, because any kind of movement or thinking about what's the day going to be. And I got to admit, I'm one of these fortunate people. I wake up without an alarm clock, and I wake up most days sometime between 5 and 6. It's not like I wake up at 1 in the afternoon. I wake up early and I don't need an alarm clock. So the thing is, if you need an alarm clock to wake up, that's often jarring enough that it squelches the memory of the dream. If possible, have the alarm clock nearby so you can just tap it and just lay there for a while without moving and let the impressions of the dream come forward. And now I'm thinking specifically about you, Crystal, because you said you knew your previous night was a night filled with dreams, but when you wake up, the dream is gone. So, what I'm next going to suggest is, even if the dream is gone, so now you've woken up, you're laying there, you're letting whatever dream is there come forward and write down whatever comes. You might write down a feeling of contentment. You might write down the color blue. You might write down something about my mother. It might just be a little, tiny little thing. But what you're doing is starting this interaction between your subconscious mind and your conscious mind, where you're letting your minds and your subconscious mind with the dreams know that you're willing to work with it. And you'll find that if you do this for a number of days or weeks, eventually you're going to remember more and more and more, because you're showing the subconscious mind you care about what it's got there for you. All right. Now write down once you remember your dream or whatever you remember, write it down right away. And I'll show you the way I do it. And this doesn't mean you should do it like that. Okay. This is, I don't know if you can see this well, but I put the date here if I can remember it. Often when I wake up, I don't even know what day it is. Might get the day wrong, the month wrong, but I try to write it down. And then I leave 4 lines blank. Like I said, you don't have to do it this way. This is just the way I do it. Then this is where I write my dream down. So I'm pretending I wrote a dream down. Okay. After I've written the dream down, then I fill in these 4 lines where I write down what was happening yesterday. Because almost always your dreams are about your life and what you were doing and thinking about the day before. Just like with Larry Page, he was so embroiled in his mind about what is going on with how to rank these websites on his search engine. So that was on his mind, I'm pretty sure, before he went to bed. So if you write down what was on your mind before you went to bed or what was going on, it will help you to interpret your dream. Now, so now you've got your date, you wrote your dream down, and then you wrote down what's going on yesterday. Then often, once you write down what was going on yesterday, I mean, sometimes you don't need to have to write any of that down. Sometimes you just wake up, you have the dream, right away you know what it's about. But these are the steps to go through for interpreting the dream. This is how to record it to help you to interpret the dream. If you haven't gotten your sense of, aha, I know what it means, then you write down your symbols in point form. See, I made just one here like that. But I might, like last night, I really don't know what my dream was about. Last night, let's see, where is one of these that I've got? Here's one. I don't know, you probably can't see it, but there's a point there. And something very important was the word alien. So I've been dreaming about an alien or something to do with aliens, which is not surprising since I have had past life regressions in which I'd been an extraterrestrial. So that is a lot on my mind. Now, some people don't write on an actual journal. I knew a woman who preferred to write everything on her computer. Now, to me, that's too great of a disconnect from waking up and then getting my computer. Now, I'm assuming her computer must have been right beside her. And then she would just write the dream on the computer right away. And she said that that worked really well because then she could do a search for symbols to see if she had dreamt about that dream before. That's interesting. Now, something else that people suggest that you do is that you make a recording, say on your phone. So here's my phone. So they would then just record, say the dream on their phone. Now, I tried that for a while and it doesn't work, not for me, because I would just record them and then I would never write them down. And it just got to be such hard work because then you have to transcribe. And I guess there's software that then will transcribe it for you. It was too much for me. It's so much easier just to write it in the journal. All right. So now we're actually in the dream interpretation process. We've written it down. We've written down what was going on the day before, and we've written our symbols down. Then you can look the symbols up. First, though, you say, what does that symbol mean to me? For an example, if I dream about a television set, I know that I'm dreaming something psychic. And they actually talk about that when you look up that symbol. See, the problem is when you look up symbols online, you've probably noticed this, right? This place says this symbol means this. This says this symbol. They all have different interpretations. But the first dream that I remember with a television set in it was a television set, my girlfriend, and the television set was her husband with another woman. And the televisions, I didn't know any of this at the time, but I was actually seeing into the future, or I was seeing clairvoyantly something that neither my girlfriend nor I knew about, which was that her husband was having an affair. But I saw it in my dream in the television set. And later I found out that the word clairvoyant it means seeing at a distance. And evidently, I think the patron saint of televisions is Saint Clair, who could see at a distance. Oh, that might just be cuckoo, but I somehow remember it. Nonetheless, I had a dream with a TV in it, and it had a clairvoyant message in it. It turned out to be true. Fortunately, I'd had the dream, so then I could be a support to my girlfriend. I didn't blurt out to her, I saw that this is what's going on with your husband. I just waited. And then when she found out and needed support, I was in a good place to help her out. And now, whenever I dream of a TV, I know that I'm getting some kind of psychic picture on the TV. That's an example of a personal symbol. So, as first thing you do when you write your symbols down is, what does this symbol mean to me? Another good example, say you've dreamt about a dog. What does a dog mean to you? To some people, a dog means an allergy attack. To some people, a dog means the scar they've got on their face because some dog bit them. Many people right away think man's best friend. But that gives you an example. What does this symbol mean to you? Now, if you still haven't got a sense of what that dream meant, you can go on to looking the symbols up online. And most of my dreams, I understand what they mean pretty quickly. But like I said, today, I did have a dream that I'm not really sure what it means. It did have the color blue in it. And to me, almost always, blue means the truth. Now, the final part of interpreting your dreams is going back about a month back and looking at your dreams. So here's my dream from the beginning of January. Okay. I just put this tab so I could find it. And that morning, I'd even forgotten by now, it's a month later. This is January 1st, Sunday. That morning, I had dreams about videos to make. And these are all the videos that I'd had dreams about. And then once I wrote them down, I put this big circle to me. And I just realized by going back today, I didn't write down what this video is going to be about. So that's another point. You get to understand how you dream. And one of the things I know about myself is that every once in a while, I have these sort of downloads in the morning of information about important things that I'm working on. And in which case, that has to do with making videos. All right. Now, are there any questions? No, I do have a question that was written in here, and I'm going to say this is an anonymous question. And the reason I'm giving it an anonymous, I'm not going to say who sent it to me. It's about a woman wrote to me about sexually heightened dreams. And she asked me first, is it normal for a woman to have sexually heightened dreams? Because she'd read that men have wet dreams and, very heightened sexual dreams, and that was normal. But she thought, is it normal for a woman to have strong sexual dreams? And I wrote back to her, yes, definitely. And it's because just think, consciously, there's been studies done, and evidently men think of sex, I don't know, I can't remember. It was a while ago I read this article. Men think of sex something like 20 times a day, maybe 30 times a day. I can't remember what it was. And women think of sex about half that many times a day. But that's so say if for men it's 20 times, then for women it's 10 times. No matter what it is, since we are thinking, we have these flashes of thinking about sex during our waking hours, is it surprising that we also think about sex when we're sleeping? But the thing about dreams are more than thinking. A lot of thinking is the conscious mind. Dreams are a lot about feelings. So it makes sense that whatever sexual kinds of dreams men or women have, they are accompanied with heightened sexual feelings. Now, her second question was, she had a dream where the sensation was so strong that she woke up feeling it. And it was truly a sensation that words can't describe, because the feeling was so much deeper than the sexual feeling she'd felt physically. That's sort of hard to believe, because you assume that sexual feelings have to do with the body. However, interestingly enough, remember I told you earlier that I had past life regression and found out that I'd been this extraterrestrial from Arcturus. And as an extraterrestrial, I was a pure light being. And when I came to Earth, I was attracted by this amazing vibration that I was feeling on Earth. And I made a mistake and got caught by the physical energies on earth. But the feeling, even though I really didn't have a body at all, was this intense sexual feeling that had attracted me to the earth. So, um, based on that experience of mine in the past, I don't think it's unusual that people have, men and women, heightened sexual feelings and even stronger feelings of sex without being accompanied by a physical act. In fact, I think I've read somewhere where gurus, that's sort of the nirvana feeling, is an intense, blissful, I believe, sexual feeling. Not sure about that, but I just want to assure her who had sent me that question that this is all um, definitely things that I've experienced and things within the range of normal. So I'm just coming to the end of this live stream now. I'm very, very happy that you've joined me here today. And I'm going to be doing a live stream next week, same day, same time. It's going to be Thursday, February 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And in that, I'm going to go deeper into how to interpret my dreams. Because today we've gone into sort of the mechanics of it, but I'm going to go deeper into the relationship between the conscious and the subconscious mind and how it helps you to understand and interpret your dreams. Well, thanks so much for being here today. It was wonderful to have you. It's just so nice that you're here. And in the future, feel free to ask questions. Well, toodaloo.